Yeah, I think, and just to kind of take us into the actual show itself, I mean, talking about that kind of inmates running the asylum thing, I think that really came to a head during the Matt Hardy incident. So, obviously, people have presumably have seen the match, but Hardy takes quite a nasty bump, but hits his head on the concrete floor. Clearly has got the signs of concussion straight away. He's barely able to stand up. It doesn't seem to know exactly where he is, to be honest, but I suppose that kind of instinct within him to carry on is there, and obviously he wants to carry on with the match, and the referees are all trying to obviously stop him from doing it. And you just think that in a competent company run by people who know professional wrestling and know the risks involved, they would have just stopped this straight away. I think the fact that they allowed this match to continue after a very short break, and the manner in which it happened, they had to climb another big scaffolding thing. You just think, at some point this is going from just bad wrestling to potentially sort of dangerous wrestling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right, and they're not doing the performers any favors. Now, I know that WWE's labor practices are hardly anything to admire, and in fact, they're actually pretty poor, as anybody will tell you. But the thing is, whenever WWE screws something up, and just recently they sort of tried to put a clamp on their performers using third party platforms such as Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that, and we all came down hard on WWE, and rightfully so. But here you look at AEW, and Tony Khan, the guy who's running the company, comes out and says that we had a doctor look at Matt Hardy and he cleared a concussion protocol. What half-assed voodoo witch doctor kind of guy took a look at Matt Hardy, because the guy clearly wasn't okay to continue. The man was in hospital overnight, and it was pretty evident that he had a concussion. I mean, you don't care about your performers, Tony Khan. You're just as much of a money-grubbing promoter as anybody else.
Exactly, yeah. You just hope that there would have been somebody backstage with the wherewithal or the sort of the responsibility to say to Matt Hardy, like, this really isn't worth it. I mean, I think what makes it worse is the fact that you never want to see people get legitimately hurt in wrestling, but then there's some occasions where it kind of has this kind of perverse kind of positive effect on things. So like I'm thinking maybe Owen Hart dropping Stone Cold on his head in SummerSlam '97, and the fact that they had to kind of scramble that match together quickly, just get that quick sort of awkward roll up, and then just get the hell out of there. Now that if you're gonna have to see it through, then do something like that, but don't go out there again and then climb a scaffold and put everybody at risk. I mean, you could see that Hardy was struggling to kind of get up there. He was very kind of shaky, and it's a dangerous thing to do at the best of times, especially after what had happened to him. And at the end of the day, it's a throwaway feud between two underneath guys, basically. There's no consequence to this. There's no title on the line. I know obviously they had this bullshit stipulation with if Matt Hardy lost, he'd have to leave AEW, but I'm sure fans could just put that aside and just be like, okay, fine, let's just end it here. We don't actually need a clear winner here. So yeah, it's never good to put people at risk, but especially for something as insignificant and inconsequential as this. Is just really kind of rub me up the wrong way.
No, Dan, you don't understand. You see, when you have a loser leaves town type of stipulation, what that means is the performer must die or be left permanently paralyzed.
Well, it seems to be, yeah.
Leaving the match incomplete is just not an option. Because there are so many millions of people watching AEW.
Yeah. I just worry that because Matt Hardy, we know he's obviously he's had this history of being a quote unquote like an extreme wrestler. He's been in lots of TLC matches and everything, but he's still been around long enough to. And I suppose it's difficult to say because you don't know exactly what his mind frame was at the time. Obviously, the professional in him would want to have continued the match. But if he had any semblance of sense about him at that time, he should have realised he's a family man. He's certainly not at the peak of his career anymore. It would have been fine for him just to sit this one out. I just worry if somebody like Darby Allin gets into this position, because we know how reckless he is with himself anyway. So it just feels like something bad is going to happen if they don't sort of grow up, I suppose, as a company.
Yeah, I agree with you. They certainly need to get their stuff together. Um, and I just can't help but go back to Tony Khan's comments on this issue. He's sort of hand waving this as though it's nothing to be concerned about, and it's something so severe. I mean, Matt Hardy could have been permanently paralyzed. Why would you commission this stunt, let alone let him continue? What sort of concussion protocols do you have in place that this guy is allowed to go on and finish this match? I mean, this is just coming across as such a poorly run company, and the culture they have, in the workplace is also no good. It seems to almost engender this sort of recklessness, as you said.
Yeah. And again, the worst part of it all is that the product overall isn't very good either. So people are kind of putting their lives at risk for something that is just amateur and minor league overall. Anyway, it's really sad to see to some of these guys, kind of Matt Hardy, Jericho, like end their kind of illustrious careers in AEW. I mean, and I suppose that kind of might lead us on to kind of talking about the Chris Jericho match as well. But it's just something about AEW and sort of guys like this in this moment is kind of stripping them of their dignity a little bit. I don't know if that's a bit harsh, but because I know Jericho has been a highlight for AEW since it started, but at the moment I don't really get what he's trying to get out of this personally.